Hello, and welcome to the Alpha Male Podcast, the podcast where we talk about what it means to be an alpha male, the right way with God at the center. After all, we are made in His image, strong, dominant, in control. We don't apologize for that. Today's going to be a rapid-fire episode. This is going to kind of be an amendment to the baby bug out bag episode. So if you haven't listened to that one, you can still listen to this, but may want to go back and give that a listen. A quick bio, not the pre-recorded one I normally do, but first and foremost, I'm a Christian, a servant of God, a follower of Jesus Christ. That is number one in everything that I do, and this podcast is no different. Marine Corps combat veteran, been to war a couple of times, also an urban warfare instructor for the Marine Corps, also an FBI certified firearms instructor, and have been for quite a few years. Prior LAPD, served regular assignments and more specialized assignments. Was a private contractor for a 3-letter government agency. Should mention I also served in the U.S. Army. Been blessed to be a state rifle and pistol champion a few times over. Been a professional big game hunter and guide. Been very blessed in my life to have done all those things by God's grace. But the number one alpha male thing about me is that I follow Jesus Christ, the ultimate alpha male. With that, we talked about what I consider my modular system. I have a small, what I would consider EDC bag. Some might argue that it's not, but we're all just kind of making these terms up, so it's not like they're in Webster's dictionary, I don't think. But a baby bug out bag that pretty much goes EDC wherever I go. I go to the gym, it goes to the gym. You know, I hop in my wife's car and we go out to do something. It's generally I grab it and throw it in my wife's car. So I can't say all the time, but most of the time if I'm around, it's within sprinting distance of me. And it's a very small bag. It's a Maxpedition sling bag, and it's part of my bigger bug out bag, which is a much larger Everly stock bag, which I've hunted and used those for years. They're great bags. They're not the only bags, but anyway, this is a small bag. It's about the size of a basketball, and I talked about everything that was in there, and I was honest with you guys. Some stuff that I had used and I forgot to replace, or some stuff just after doing that episode, even me, like I am trying to improve all the time. I'm not perfect. That's kind of the point of this life, is to grow closer to God in relationship with Him and be more like Him, to be more perfect every day. So I thought there were some improvements that could be made. Number one, I mentioned that I had recently bugged out for real, and I had spent some time in the wilderness hiking, and I had taken my mini Sawyer out. So I bought a brand new one and put it in there with the bag, so that is now in the bug out bag. Also, a universal charger is now clipped to the bag, not only with my cell phone adapter, but also the mini USB that recharges my backup EDC light that's in there and connects to the secondary power source that's in there. So that is now on the bag. In addition, I also threw a thing of baby wipes in there, because those are super important, and I can't believe they weren't in the bag, but they weren't, and now they are. So baby wipes, good for a lot of things. Good for cleaning you, good for going to the bathroom, obviously, which is, I guess, what they were primarily intended for. They're good for, just keeping yourself clean. If you've ever gone a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months without a shower, as I have, then you'll know how nice a baby wipe can be. Also, I forgot to mention, it was in there, but I forgot it. And it was a tactical tip from the last episode, or at least the last one I did, maybe not the last one you listened to, but a spare wallet. A spare wallet with your backup ID, maybe an old ID or an ID from a state you moved from. It may not be your legit ID, but it will prove who you are. And put some spare cash in there. If you can get, a different or a backup debit card or one of those prepaid credit cards or something, and put it in there, a backup way to pay for stuff. Just last night, I live kind of far out of the city, and I drove quite a ways into the city to buy supplies for this week at work, and I got there and realized I had went hiking earlier and changed my pants and forgot my wallet. That backup wallet has come in handy plenty of times, and it was just in one of those pocket stuff down in there, and I forgot to go through it in the contents. But a spare wallet probably gets used, hopefully, more than your full-size handgun that's in there, I hope, at least for as far as needing it. Maybe you should practice with your handgun more, but you know what I'm saying. Comes in super handy. Spare ID, spare cash, and maybe a backup way to pay. Like I said, one of those prepaid debit cards. Have that in there. So those are just some additions that I wanted to mention. Oh, and I also put in some zip ties. I usually have some in there. I probably used them at some point and didn't replace them. Also threw a couple of the zip ties in there. You never know what zip ties come in handy for. Lots of things. Car repairs. There's just a ton of different things that they can come in handy for. Tactical tip of the day. I don't know that I've ever mentioned this before, but dental floss. I don't have any in my kit because I have Spectra, but Spectra is quite expensive. Anyway, dental floss, at least the kind that I'm familiar with, is very strong. And I use that. I still have some clothes from the Marine Corps back during the war that I patched up with dental floss. And that's the tactical tip of the day. Some dental floss, not just for dental floss, but for a sewing kit, for fishing line, for a lot of other things. It's a very strong filament, I guess you would call it. It's very strong cordage, and it's cheap, and it's easily attainable, and throw a little bit in your bag, and maybe take a little piece of tape, duct tape or whatever that you should already have on your bag. Take that and tape some needles onto it. I've used that in the past. I'm going to say do as I say, not as I do, because I have Spectra, and I think Spectra is stronger and better, but it is quite expensive, and if you're not into fishing, you might not even know about it or know what it is. But dental floss, if you want to use that or Spectra, either one, but take some of that, have a sewing kit with some needles and maybe a fish hook or two. Fishing line is cheap and good too, but it's not as bendable, so you can sew stuff up and repair stuff with fishing line, like monofilament, the classic fishing line, but I think for that task, dental floss is going to be better, it's going to hold up longer, and it's going to be much stronger. The tactical verse of the day is going to come to us from Psalm 143, a couple of passages from that psalm, not the entirety of the psalm. Cause me to know the way in which I should walk. Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. If you ever feel lost in life, if you ever wonder if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing or on the right path, I don't know the answer to that, but I know who does. God does. And I think if we're honest with ourselves as men, we've all felt that way at one point or another in our lives. That's one of the verses I try and read every day. Some of the passages I try and read every day. I want God to tell me what I'm supposed to do. I'm His servant. He knows better than me. He's smarter than me and wiser than me. He has the answers. Cause me to know the way in which I should walk. Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. With that, men, thanks for listening to this rapid fire episode, and have a blessed day.